Hello there! Welcome to English Bits and Chunks. My name is Miss B. In this channel, I will break down the grammar lessons into bite size using simple terms to make it easy for you. You can pause the lesson at any time or replay the video as many times as you like. You learn at your own pace. Ready? Let's get started. Today's lesson is on verb. There are different types of verbs, but we will begin with auxiliary verbs. Let me explain what verb is. A verb is a word used to describe an action, state, or occurrence, forming the main part of the predicate of a sentence, such as hear, become, or happen. A verb is the part of a sentence that tells us what the subject performs. Verbs are the hearts of English sentences. Verbs can be expressed in different tenses, for example, present, past, continuous, and perfect tenses. There are main verbs and auxiliary verbs. Let's see if you can identify the verbs and the tenses in these sentences. You can pause the video for a few minutes. Did you manage to identify all the verbs and tenses? Well done! FYI, all the verbs in all the sentences are used as main verbs. There are three important key terms in this video: subject, driver, and power. These terms will be used to show how auxiliary verbs are used. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify auxiliary verbs in English and understand their usage. Let's look at these pictures. In order for the bus, car, forklift, and garbage truck to move, who do you think is in control of all these vehicles? It's the driver. The driver is very important. He is in control of a vehicle to take the vehicle to its destination. In every sentence, there is a driver, which is the verb. The verb is in control of the tense in a sentence. What is a subject? A subject can be a noun or a pronoun. It is the main focus or star characters in a sentence. Look at these example sentences. The colored words are subjects. Now look at these sentences. As mentioned earlier, a subject can be a noun or a pronoun. A noun is a word that refers to a person or people, a place or a thing, or an event. A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun. In the second sentence, the word they replaces the children. The children is the subject. They is also the subject. Nouns and pronouns have different powers. Some have singular powers. Some have plural powers. And some have special powers. Next, let's look at the pronoun's power. The pronoun I has a special power as indicated by the one-of-a-kind special battery. The pronouns you, they, and we have plural power as indicated by the double batteries. Finally, the pronouns he, she, it have singular power as indicated by the single battery. Now that you have been introduced to the three important terms, driver, subject, and power, we can now talk about auxiliary verbs. Usually, when you hear the word verb, you would automatically think about actions. However, auxiliary verbs do not show any actions. There are three primary auxiliary verbs in English, and they are be, do, and have. Auxiliary verbs come before the main verbs. They are used to form a question, negative sentence, progressive sentence, and passive sentence. Let's look at the be verbs. Remember, the driver is the verb in a sentence. It is in charge of the tense, which in this case is the present and past tense. For the present tense, we use am, is, and are. For the past tense, we use was and were. In this sentence, the be verb am is the auxiliary and the word doing is the main verb. Now, let's move on to the verb do. For the present tense, we use do and does. For the past tense, we use did. We need to choose the right do verbs according to the pronouns we're using. We use do with special pronoun I and plural pronouns. We use does with singular pronouns. We use did for all types of pronouns. In this sentence, the be verb do is the auxiliary and the word play is the main verb. Next is the verb have. For the present tense, we use has and have. For the past tense, we use had. But remember, we need to choose the right verb according to the type of pronouns we're using. We use has for singular pronouns. We use have for plural pronouns and special pronoun I. We use had for all types of pronouns. In this sentence, the be verb has is the auxiliary and the word arrived is the main verb.
Now you are going to learn how to use the be verb. Before you decide which be verb to use, you need to decide whether the subject is singular or plural. Now let's look at the table. These are the pronouns in English. I, he, she, it are used to replace singular nouns, whereas they and we are used to replace plural nouns. The pronoun you can be used to replace singular and plural nouns. For example, when I say I'm talking to you, I can be referring to one person, or I may be addressing to many people. Let's look at the fourth column. These be verbs are in the present tense. How many pronouns go with the verb am? That's right. Only pronoun I can be used with the verb am. That's because I is a special pronoun. You, they, and we use are because they are plural pronouns and carry plural power. But remember, the pronoun you can replace singular or plural noun, and it always carries plural power. We use the verb is for he, she, it because they are singular pronouns and always carry singular power. Do you notice a pattern where the letter S in the be verb is in red, which is the same as the letter S in the singular? This means the red S is for singular. Now let's look at the past tense form of the verb be. There are only two forms, which are was and were. Can you identify the pronouns that use the be verb was? You are right again. I, he, she, and it. The same pattern where the letter S in the be verb is in red, which is the same as the letter S in the singular. This means the red S is for singular. Although the pronoun I is singular, it will carry plural power most of the time. This is the only time the pronoun I will have the S ending for verbs because I am special. Now we are going to look at how we use the verb do. You may notice the same pronouns in the previous slide. The singular and plural power works the same way as the be verb. This is the present tense form for the verb do. There are only two forms here, do and does. Do is used for the pronoun you, they, and we because they all carry plural power. He, she, and it use does because they carry singular power. Do you notice that the pronoun I uses do, which is the same as the plural pronoun you, they, and we? That's because although the pronoun I is singular, most of the time it will carry plural power. Just remember that I am special. Can you guess the past tense form for the verb do? Did you say did? Wow, you are right again. Fantastic. This is so easy to remember. No matter what the pronoun is, the past tense form for the verb do is did. Finally, we have come to the auxiliary verb have. I'm sure by now you are familiar with the use of singular and plural power. These are the present tense forms of the verb have. There are only two forms here, which are have and has. We use have for the pronoun I, you, they, and we because they carry plural power. He, she, and it use has because they carry singular power. Do you notice that the pronoun I uses have, which is the same as the plural pronoun you, they, and we? That's because although the pronoun I is singular, most of the time it carries plural power. Just remember that I am special. Can you guess the past tense form for the verb have? Did you say had? Awesome! Spot on! Again, this is so easy to remember. No matter what the pronoun is, the past tense form for the verb have is had. This table summarizes what we have learned today. The key is to look at the power each pronoun carries. Remember, for the pronoun I, although it's singular, it carries plural power most of the time because I am special. The pronoun you always carries plural power even though it can replace either singular or plural nouns. The pronouns he, she, and it always carry singular power as indicated by the red letter S, as shown in the table. Always remember the red S is for singular. Finally, the pronoun they and we always carry plural power. As long as you can remember this formula, using the auxiliary verbs will be a piece of cake. Now that you have learned what auxiliary verbs are, let's see if you can answer these questions. For question number 1, which auxiliary verb is suitable? You can choose any one of the auxiliary verbs in the speech bubble. Let's read these sentences and fill out the correct auxiliary verbs in the blanks. Remember, auxiliary verbs are verbs that do not show action. Let's look at question 1. I been studying for 2 hours. Could it be am? I am been studying for 2 hours. Could it be is? I is been studying for 2 hours. Could it be have? I have been studying for 2 hours. In this case, have is correct. Let's move on to question 2. You given 3 days to complete your work. Do you think am is right? You am given 3 days to complete your work. Doesn't sound right, does it? Let's try it again. Could it be are? You are given 3 days to complete your work. That's right. The pronoun you goes with are. Question 3. You agree with me? Notice the main verb agree is there. What do you think is the auxiliary verb? Yes, It is the auxiliary verb do. Do you agree with me? Do is the auxiliary verb. Agree is the main verb. This is a question, so it ends with a question mark. So, it's now your turn to try questions 4, 5, and 6. Well done, guys. You are amazing. If you enjoyed the exercise you did earlier, I'm sure you will enjoy this exciting quiz. Just click on this link in the description box to start the quiz game. If you like what you have learned in this video, give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button for more fun grammar lessons.